All right, check it
Okay, here we go. We are live. Sweet. What's up, everyone? Welcome to Direct Thought Feed. Let's talk about inflation, shall we?
I'm gonna come.
So I got market expert warns a lot of people will have no place to live if this happens. I got a video here from Fox Business. Let's check it out.
Bringing Jeff Sika. Jeff, we got food and energy inflation. We're talking a lot about that, but it goes far beyond that, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, food and energy is bad enough, but when you look at, we have a population that 40% of people rent and don't own, and those 40% are seeing the biggest escalations in their rents that they've seen in history. And what's happening is because we have all this inflation, there's not a lot of construction. So you look at big markets like New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Miami, you look at big markets, supply is off by about 85 to 90% pre-pandemic, which means you have a lot of people that want apartments and not a lot of apartments. I didn't do really well in economics in college. I don't even think I passed it, but I know the rule of supply and demand. There's a ton of demand, not a lot of supply, and that's allowing markets like New York, for example, which was in the doldrums during the pandemic, is now at rents are higher in New York now than pre-pandemic. It's because of supply.
Now, the other side of this coin is that, as usual, politicians are overreacting and coming up with these no eviction laws. Right. That is to say, if people say they can't afford it, they won't pay anything, you can't, as a landlord, do anything about it.
Right. And you know, I'm a developer, and one of the things I don't want to tell people I'm a developer, because a lot of people hate developers, especially certain politicians, and politicians that are saying, well, we can't have evictions, or we're going to build a lot of low-income housing. There's a problem with that, because we are in a business and we want to build and we want to provide houses, homes, and apartments for everybody. But when you tell people they don't have to pay for your product, they could live there for free and nobody's going to do anything about it, you're going to have a lot of people, a lot of developers, a lot of construction companies that are just going to sit on their hands and say, why bother? Why spend all this money when we're going to build a product that the government is going to allow people to get for free?
So where does all this end? I mean, the fact is New York has this terrible, as a lot of cities do, terrible crime problem. We still have vaccine mandates in some form here in New York. Other cities do as well. And now the problem with the rent. I mean, are people just going to stop living in these cities, these Democrat-led cities?
Well, yeah, because look at what's happening. I mean, take Miami for example. Now Miami is the most expensive city to live in. The reason for that is people are leaving New York, San Francisco, Los Angeles to go to places like Miami. But the problem that all of these cities have is they're not building enough. You know, for oil, they say to get oil prices down, drill. That's very true. For rents, to get rents lower, we need to build. We need to build and provide housing at an affordable rate. You have now a lot of these cities, they not only have a high demand for leases, there's bidding wars going on for renters. So if we don't do something about this soon, there's going to be a lot of people with no place to live.
Another thing to worry about. Jeff Sinka, good to see you, my friend. Thank you very much.
So what do you guys think about that?
There's a lot. He was going on.
Yeah. Welcome back, panelists here.
So we've seen inflation going, I think it was up 7% this year. What some experts would probably say it's even higher. It's as high as 15%. So I was actually doing some math here. Actually, I have a savings account, and this is the savings I've had. I put in my savings account $25,000. And this is the amount yield of dividends that you get from actually having a savings account. And I made basically 50 cents each month from that savings account. So if inflation is like 7% and I'm yielding maybe like, I don't know, that's like less than 0.5%, maybe even less than that, like 0.1%. It's like a small fraction. Then I'm basically losing money by saving money.
Yeah.
Because my buying power is becoming less and less. $25,000 now is going to get me much less in the future. So why save it?
Yeah.
There's no incentive to save money because inflation's so high. And you can't put it in the stock market now because stocks are going down. There's a chance of us going into a recession. You could buy gold, but we're going to see that price of gold going up too. Could buy Bitcoin.
Yeah, I was gonna say crypto.
There's other avenues, and I think that's where we have an opportunity for those investors out there. Do your own research. We're not financial advisors at all. But with inflation being as high as it is, I mean, I'm definitely looking for opportunities to get and hedge against inflation. And I don't see the stock market being a good one anymore. Bitcoin is kind of risky at this point because with the sanctions, the sanctions are going to make it where a lot, they might make it where Bitcoin's like illegal. Because they're trying to, they might say that Russia's using Bitcoin to avoid the sanctions.
I heard something about the United States wanting to make their own like cryptocurrency.
Yeah. Russia's talks about having their own digital currency, and now the United States is also talking about it. The Chinese already have digital currency, digital yuan. Hey, we got some people joining our chats. What's up? Thank you guys for joining. Welcome. Let's see here. We got another video here. This is how the Federal Reserve plans to control inflation. Let's take a look.
The Federal Reserve announced its first interest rate hike in 3 years, and it wasn't a total shock. Experts had anticipated this quarter-point rate, with forecasts showing it's only the first of several hikes this year. It comes as a lot of Americans are feeling that pinch at the gas station and the checkout counter because of months of rising inflation, the kind of thing we haven't seen in decades. Historically, interest hikes can be an effective way to tame inflation, but how long will it take to play out? And what does it mean for you? NBC's business and tech correspondent Jolene Kent takes a look in our Sunday Focus.
The last time Americans saw inflation soar this high was more than 40 years ago.
Ending inflation means freeing all Americans from the terror of runaway living costs.
It was 1981. The Federal Reserve, chaired by Paul Volcker, hiked interest rates to record heights after a decade of sky-high prices.
The prime lending rate went back up to a crushing 20% today.
The goal was to tame inflation, exacerbated by the fuel shortage of the 1970s that triggered long lines for gas nationwide.
And they try to blame it on us as the dealer, and it certainly isn't our fault.
It's a proven solution. Higher interest rates make it more expensive to borrow money, like for homes and cars, inflicting some controlled pain on the economy so spending slows and prices come down. Fast forward to 2022.
Every week is something new. It's beef prices, it's produce, it's avocados.
Let us know your thoughts, guys. What is inflation
Inflation is now
in your
more than
country
20%, the highest since Reagan was president.
or
In
states?
every aspect, it's higher, but your wages don't go up any higher.
Triggering Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell to raise interest rates for the first time since 2018.
The FOMC raised its policy interest rate by 1/4 percentage point.
But this time around, what's driving inflation is pretty different than the 70s and 80s.
This is a pretty unique situation because it's very much tied up with the pandemic and all of the fiscal support that Congress enacted because of the pandemic.
Consumers are facing a never-before-seen trifecta of a pandemic with record consumer demand, a strong jobs market, and the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So when the pandemic hit and money was poured into the economy by way of stimulus checks and slashed interest rates, as well as money injected into the economy by the Fed, many consumers who could afford it started buying a lot more stuff. That collided with supply chain problems around the world. And still, many of America's biggest corporations reported record profits because they raised their prices and sold more goods.
Do you think that companies are raising prices because they can, just by the laws of supply and demand?
They are facing an extraordinary increase in demand for their goods, and lo and behold, in response, they're raising prices. That is raising profits, just as you'd expect that any company seeing a big demand for its goods should become more profitable.
The Fed says inflation is expected to be high through this summer before coming down sharply next year.
What is your message to consumers out there who can no longer afford the basics?
We very much take to heart that it's our obligation to restore price stability, bring inflation back down to more normal levels, which our target is 2%.
And Joe joins us now live. Joe, good morning to you. Listen, this rate hike that we just saw this week, maybe the first in a while, but we don't think it's going to be
I'm
the
going to
last.
cut it there. So what do you guys think on that? Do you guys think the interest rates are going to fix inflation, raising the interest rates, or raising the interest rates in the increments that Jerome Powell has decided?
In theory, it should work, right?
A lot of things in theory work.
So I guess in theory, by raising those interest rates, that actually is going to increase the amount that I would earn in my savings account. So it'll actually incentivize people to save more. But that would then actually cause people to be, they would probably be less likely to invest in the stock market, but more likely to invest in bonds, because then they could earn higher interest and yields on that because the interest rates are higher. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, there's a lot of different other factors that are going to go into play. And how is that going to impact, the world globally, especially with all the things that are going on right now, the geopolitics in Ukraine, and then possible, situation in Taiwan and China. That's another situation that could happen. Then you can imagine inflation getting even worse, because she even said, inflation can be part of just supply and demand, not just the amount of money that's being printed, because that's obviously the main reason why, is because we printed a ton of money and gave it away, you know, how much extra money did you guys receive from the government?
Yeah.
Not much. Me personally, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, if you want to get a general idea instead of just thinking off a theory, you can go back to when things were kind of like this back in the 1920s and 30s, when a lot of times you had to take barrel full of money to buy basic necessities like bread, milk. I mean, God, we don't, hope you don't get to that point, but it has happened, so we know that it could get there.
Yeah. And then that's why you're going to want to have, they're going to have to find a way to back money into something else. And I think a lot of that's going to be property. I think it's going to be gold, Bitcoin, crypto. Like talking about a great reset. I mean, that's in theory the only way. Yeah, I mean, because right now the monetary policy that we have is basically designed based off inflation. So whenever in order for it to pay off its debt, it has to create more debt. So, and it has to continue to inflate in order for it to continue to work. If it doesn't, then that trust gets broken and then it collapses. It's like a house of cards, basically.
Well, and also, if you continue to look at how things got fixed, unfortunately, war is very profitable.
Yeah, it is.
And that's how we fix inflation when it got real bad in the Great Depression, is through war.
Yeah, World War II. So
and
keeping that in mind.
Right after Great Wars, a reset, a shift in power, a shift in property, land, and resources.
It's almost like the whole century is repeating itself, almost, or at least it's rhyming.
I mean, the Earth does revolve.
Because you had the Spanish flu that happened in the 1918, 1919, and you have COVID-19 pandemic. And then you got, we're probably going to be running into a Great Depression soon because of all the global crap that's going to go on. And the US dollar is actually backed by oil. And oil, fossil fuels, is going to be, the whole world is getting ready to move away from fossil fuels. So that means the US dollar is just destined to collapse. I would probably say within the next 10 to 20 years, maybe even less, if things get bad. So you'd have to say there would have to be another great reset, and the US dollar would no longer be the global reserve currency. Something else would have to take its place. I think Bitcoin would be a good option. The chances are it could be the Yuan, Chinese Yuan.
Why did you have that look, James?
I have a slight headache, so I had slight pain in my eye.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
Let's see, the Yuan to
it
US.
Wasn't related to anything that was said. I have a slight headache, and there's a pain in my eye.
Well, you guys could see here, the Yuan's been going up in price versus the dollar. One Chinese Yuan equals 16 cents. And it's been going up. 5-year Here's the max. Let me flip this around. $1. That's interesting. Chinese yuan for USD is pretty stable, but for USD to Chinese yuan, it's like, it's weird. So $1 equals 6 Chinese yuan. One Chinese yuan equals 0.16 US dollar. I see it now. Got it. So it looks like the US dollar is gaining value back. Or am I looking at that wrong? No, actually, Chinese yuan has actually been, ever since COVID, Chinese yuan has been gaining power or gaining value. Could just be coincidence.
That's what I said. Coincidentally funny.
Yeah, coincidentally. Oh, what is going on here? All right, next video. What's the next topic here?
It's taken so long. Active duty military personnel per capita. So this is based on like percentage of people already living in the state. That's why California is not just dominating. Alaska and Hawaii makes sense. They're on like our western borders. You're going to probably station a lot there. And then Virginia, because Virginia's got that huge military base, right? Actually, both these states. Why do you have so much in North Dakota? Are we worried about Canada? There's something they're not telling us up there. I've always wanted to see a map like this. I don't know why it's taken so long. Active duty military personnel per capita. So this is based.
So what do you guys think of that? Why is there so much active presence in North Dakota?
That's where our silos are.
Or what? That's where our what is?
Missile silos.
Oh, okay.
Our nukes.
Yeah. I'm surprised Missouri doesn't have more because there's a lot of air bases here in Missouri.
Yeah, I'm surprised Oregon has nothing.
The terrain.
That's
there's not a lot of redwood forests and stuff. Not
yeah. Well, but what if that's where maybe that's where they'll invade us? China will invade.
Very habitable or army logistical.
It's not like
right.
Percentage of people already living in the state. That's why California is not just dominating. Alaska and Hawaii make
obvious
sense. They're on like our western borders. You're going to probably station a lot there. And then Virginia.
Tennessee, nothing. Ohio, Pennsylvania, very surprised. West Virginia, nothing.
What's in West Virginia? Oh, what? I guess there's bases, army bases, right?
What, in Virginia?
Yeah.
Then you got Washington, D.C.
Oh, true.
Virginia has Norfolk, the largest naval base.
Yeah.
On the eastern coast.
Because Virginia's got that huge military base, right? Actually, both these states. Why do you have so much in North Dakota? Are we worried about?
And then yeah, North Dakota.
Canada? There's something they're not telling us up there. I've always wanted.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I've always wanted to see a map.
Here's a video about Russia possibly using chemical weapons in Ukraine, and a scenario here that I got a little conspiracy theory, false flag operation I have in mind. I'll let you guys know after this.
These worries are now being presented that Russia are potentially preparing to use chemical and biological weapons against Ukraine. And here's why this threat is actually even more serious than that of nuclear weapons. Now, before I get into why Russia is being accused of this, we need to understand what's at stake here. Definition: the military use of chemicals, bacteria, viruses, toxins, or poisons to injure or kill soldiers or civilians is called chemical and biological warfare, and it is brutal. There are a few examples in history of countries that have used these methods, Germany in World War I, for example, but the horrors it led to caused the vast majority of countries on the planet to sign the 1925 Geneva Protocol banning the use of biological and chemical weapons in war. Now, here is where things get scary. On Friday, Russia called for a meeting with the United Nations because they firmly believe that the US is secretly developing biological weapons in Ukrainian laboratories, and the event saw some heated discussions. Russia claimed that its invading forces had discovered evidence of an emergency cleanup to hide the program and referred to documents to back these claims up. And on top of all of that, the allegations were quickly amplified and supported by China during the assembly. Now, both the US and Ukraine have categorically denied that they are developing any biological weapons inside the country, and to present to you the other side, experts like the head of NATO believe that Russia is only claiming this in order to initiate a false flag operation in order to launch their own biological weapons attack in Ukraine. Now, as it...
Did you guys hear that? Holy shit. That's a really good idea, actually, because they could actually stage it and make it look like it was from the United States and blame it on the United States because they had those bio labs in Ukraine. That's basically what they're trying to do.
It turns out the U.S. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland confirmed last week that there are biolabs in Ukraine that are funded by the USA. But before you go crazy, there are a lot more details to this entire situation, and I can't cover it all in a 2-minute video, so I'll present those details on a longer video on my YouTube. Either way, the fact that the words chemical and biological weapons are even being used right now is terrifying, because the probability of countries using them is far higher than that of nuclear weapons. And on top of that, bioweapons such as viruses are extremely hard attacks to contain and isolate to just the battlefield. In fact, in the words of the Russian UN representative, we call upon you to think about a very real biological danger to the people in European countries, which can result from an uncontrolled spread of bioagents from Ukraine. As the war in Ukraine...
Boom. Yeah, think of that.
Justification they can to the people behind them, because right now the world's against them.
Yes, but they could still use a biological weapon, put it in Ukraine, have it spread globally, just like COVID, something worse, kill a bunch of people, and say it was United States. But yeah, I mean, you might be right. I mean, how many people are going to believe it or whatever?
I'm not saying like that. I'm just saying, as of right now, you got all these countries and companies and people pulling out of Russia and denying Russia access to their products and their services and stuff. So, I mean, it could just be a ploy to get people to come back to their side. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What do you think, J-Pat?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with James.
Yeah.
I think it's just one of those last-ditch things, and if people kind of agree, not necessarily agree with me, but kind of like say the same thing, I think that's like, okay, we tried everything to get everybody on our side. We're just gonna have to take it and see what happens, I think.
Got it. See, here we got Elon Musk just showed the insane hypersonic jet against Russia.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine, the U.S. military cannot afford to stand still and introduce new innovations into the military space. The U.S. military was lucky. They have Elon Musk. A billionaire inventor comes up with innovations that the U.S. military can include in its military assets. For example, obsolete since the late 1960s, but still secretive and intimidating hypersonic fighter, developed as part of the Mayhem project, which could be prepared in the fight against Russia. Russia was the first to adopt them, which makes them a leader in hypersonic. But our U.S. military is also trying to keep up. Currently, it is being discussed that promising sixth-generation fighters, for example, are being tested. In the USA, under the Next Generation Air Dominance
What's so
NGAD
scary,
program,
people?
it will be
Yeah,
possible
war
to
is
develop
scary, guys.
hypersonic speed, as well as a similar project in the Russian Federation. Theoretically, it is possible to create civil hypersonic aircraft. Elon Musk is the CEO of the Tesla automobile company and the SpaceX space company. His genius abilities span several products. In several industries, he is responsible for popularizing electric vehicles, and he left his mark on this industry. He turned electric cars into vehicles that people want to own. His electric car company Tesla is now the largest in this category, having produced the largest number of electric vehicles last year. Tesla is also the largest car company, judging by its market capitalization. The world is watching the success of the entrepreneur, exactly the same as the military is monitoring Tesla's progress carefully and are currently working on using. One of the company's strengths is in its equipment, namely batteries. The U.S. Air Force has signed a contract with Lockheed Martin, which will allow
A very strange day is coming to America. In short,
commercial.
a massive and surprising new transition to
install laser weapons on fighter jets. The laser system needs an energy storage solution, and Lockheed Martin is turning to the same lithium-ion batteries that power electric cars. Thanks to Tesla's innovations, lithium-ion EV batteries have reached the stage where the U.S. Air Force will use them in their fighters. Musk is also innovating in the space industry, and his company SpaceX is fast climbed to the top of the pile, overtaking competitors. Along the way, it regularly delivers payloads to the International Space Station, including crew and cargo.
All right, this is pretty long, lengthy. We don't need to watch the whole thing, but I'm just kind of just going based off of this headline here. What do you guys think of a hypersonic jet? And having the capabilities of hitting, I think they said Mach 25 speed.
Sheesh.
That's like, what, 10 times the speed of sound? Well, I would assume that there would be nobody riding into it, right? Like, who would be able to just fly around in a Mach 25 plane? So I'm guessing it'd be like a drone.
Unless
right?
there's a way to make the cockpit or the inside 0G, or at least
Yeah,
way less G's.
My guess would be these, because most of Elon Musk, most of his things are pretty much automatic, like automated driving, things like that. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, I would assume it would be like a drone. Like
it'd be like a drone, like plane. Yeah, because I think that's going to be the future of most, especially these hypersonic weapons and jets and stuff. Like they're not going to have any humans in them. Like they're going to just be fully automatic.
Oh, yeah, they're going to be weaponized. They're going to basically be like Iron Man suits that the person sits, 1,000 miles away in a realistic looking cockpit that's high tech and controls it. For sure, because getting rid of, it makes sense to take out the human either way, because first off, you're not killing anybody, so you don't get any negative PR. You right there, Deb?
Yeah, I'm kidding. Fucking speaker fell off the desk.
Okay. So so what I had said was it makes sense to remove the human element from that, because you you don't get that negative PR of somebody dying, of somebody's son or daughter dying.
Mm-hmm.
You eliminate a lot of space for that person taking up that space, and allow it for more systems, more fuel, more ammunition, more components in the aircraft.
Right,
And
I hear you.
And you don't have to design it with a cockpit up front where the pilot can see if you got cameras and stuff everywhere. You can design it all in a weird shape that's more aerodynamic and better for fighting capabilities. And so it just makes logical sense that should be done. And we're at a point where we can do it. We got VR, video calling and stuff. I don't know. It's just the only thing that I foresee a problem is remote controlling something at that high rate of speed, the latency and controls, that the one wrong move or something blocking the signal or something, and something, just fucking smacking inside of something at Mach 10 speed.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's just amazed me. Like, how can you control something going that fast? Yeah. It's just crazy. So like here is
the cost.
Yeah, and the cost. So yeah, go into that too. Because then you screw up once, you just wasted $1 billion.
Well, yeah, you got to think. The fighter jets we have now are like 10 bill. Some of them.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that's got.
Yeah, they're in the billions.
$200 billion.
It's crazy. So it was funny. This Elon Musk actually tweeted. This was on March 14th. He said, "I hereby challenge," and he writes something in Russian, "to single combat, and stakes are," and he puts something here, which I had to come to find out it's actually Ukraine. So I Google translate this. This is Vladimir Putin. So he tweeted that he's challenging Vladimir Putin in single combat, and the stakes are Ukraine, which that was in Ukrainian. So that actually got 391,000 likes. I don't know what he meant by that. And it's actually funny because Elon Musk, I actually think he is followed by like somebody like by Putin or somebody close to Putin or something like that. Something I read. So there's actually a chance that Putin actually could have saw this tweet, which is funny.
Down in the bottom?
It says
he's replying to the Kremlin, or he's tweeting at the Kremlin.
Oh yeah, let's see. Google Translate. Do you agree to this fight? And he said it to the Kremlin's Twitter. Wow, the president of Russia. Doesn't look like Vladimir Putin had a telephone conversation with President of the European Council, Charles Michel or whatever. So yeah, he didn't respond. That's lame. It's pretty funny though. So here's this. This is something that I'm trying to still figure out what is going to happen between China, because the United States just had a call with China and I can't tell which direction it's going to go. So I kind of want to hear what you guys think about this, but let's watch this video first, and I want to hear you guys what you guys think.
Michael Pillsbury, Hudson Institute Director of the Center of Chinese Study and Strategy. Michael, thanks for joining me. So listen, you have been talking about China for a long time and the rising threat of China. So let's get your assessment of the Xi-Biden conversation earlier today.
Well, they're not releasing the conversation. That means the contents are mainly secret. I know the Chinese put out a statement very quickly, within 10 minutes of the talk being over, which means they had written it in advance. It sounded like from the Chinese statement that they're not happy with the invasion of Ukraine. You know, China doesn't like to see war, this kind of general statement. But they did not condemn the invasion. They also did not promise in their open statement that they will not undercut the sanctions that the whole world has put on Russia. So if you look at it just from a tough point of view, are the Chinese actually doing something to help? If they are, why would the Biden team keep it secret? They should want to announce it. Say we got China's support today for sanctions. We got China's condemnation today for the invasion of Ukraine. That didn't happen. So I tend to think this was not a successful phone call.
And Michael, if it was successful, to your point, it probably would have been released by now for
China
sure.
gonna invade Taiwan.
If you look at the global risk of closer ties between Russia and China. Should we be concerned?
Of course, this is a nightmare we've had for 50 years that there would be a Sino-Russian axis. Frankly, Sean, one of the most dangerous things is they both have nuclear weapons. They have nuclear forces that, in the case of Russia, we try to put a cap on, have arms control. But China has refused to attend any arms control talks. They apparently want to grow their own nuclear forces, their ICBMs and their warheads, to the same level as Russia and America. So we'll have this first time in our history, we'll have this three-way nuclear balance between Russia, China, and America. That in itself is dangerous when the Chinese won't agree to come to any arms control talks.
So, Michael, obviously the Biden White House was saying there's going to be serious sanctions on Russia if they lend support to Russia. Question for you: do you think that China really cares that the U.S. might sanction them? Because if I look at it, we rely on China for almost everything. We've outsourced all of our manufacturing to China. Do they really think that we can sanction them and make that effective?
It depends, Sean, on the kind of sanctions. I think what they're afraid of is sanctions on investment. We have about $1 trillion in investment in Chinese companies now that goes through the New York Stock Exchange. We have several hundred billion more in private equity investment, especially in high-tech Chinese companies that will help them become the #1 technology power in the world. So that kind of sanction they're afraid of. Wall Street opposes those sanctions, so it's not necessarily easy for Biden to do it. I think what your point is that they're not afraid of trivial sanctions, where we put a 5% tariff on a certain Chinese Christmas present, let's say. They're not afraid of that, but they are afraid of a really total anger that might develop against China if they really are helping Putin as much as I'm afraid they are helping Putin.
Yeah, so the Chinese would love to dethrone the dollar as the global reserve currency. Do you have any concern that the U.S. sanctions, the financial sanctions, kicking Russia out of the SWIFT system, any of those sanctions on Russia could impact the dollar's reserve currency, which, by the way, would be cataclysmic for our economy?
Yes, I do, Sean. I think part of the problem is our intelligence collection against China. We've had a tradition of not risking too much for better intelligence collection. But right now, we're going to really need to know what is China doing through its banking system and in other ways. What is China doing to secretly help Putin so they can get away with the sort of public denial that they're against aggression, but secretly continue to give Putin the energy that he needs to continue his invasion? That's what I'm worried about, Sean.
Yeah, so sanctions on China will definitely backfire on the U.S.
Between Russia and China, what should the White House be doing? How do you actually break that connection they now have because of the Ukraine war?
I'm very pessimistic that it can be broken. It seems like they're being driven together by their opposition to the United States. And it seems also like they found common ground, that Russia used to be worried that there were 2 million undocumented Chinese in Siberia. They were worried about China taking over a lot of Russian companies. They were worried about becoming a colony of China. I actually heard a Russian in Moscow once tell me that. We don't want to become a colony of China. Somehow, the Putin team doesn't worry about that anymore. I think they should, but they seem to be so focused. On winning in Ukraine, they can't think about the
Taiwanese Straits right before this phone call. Is that a message to America?
Yes, it is. They've become increasingly bold in sending signals to us over the past year under President Biden. We didn't see this kind of thing under President Trump. They found President Trump basically unpredictable, sometimes friendly, sometimes harsh against them. I think they're not so afraid or concerned about President Biden as they were about President Trump. That's for sure.
No doubt about that. President Trump was like, get out of China, get the hell out of China. That was his message. Come back home or go anywhere else. So, Michael Pillsbury, I always appreciate your insight. Thank you.
Oh, guys.
We think we know.
There you have it.
I'm going to come.
The United States Secretary of State, and he was a national security.
Hold on, we'll watch this here in a second. So what do you guys think on that? That would probably cause a lot more inflation in the world. At least in the United States, maybe not so much China. Maybe in China a little bit too. They would get huge inflation, like huge gas prices hikes, because we actually did most of their imports of oil is from the United States. So they get most of the oil from us.
We invest over there.
Yeah, and then the stock market too, yeah. Yeah, they would hate that because we would then, because yeah, we invested in a lot of China, and China's invested in a lot of United States too. We thought we do business, like our economies are actually pretty overlapped, so to speak. That's interesting. Let's see. Here, something. Putin, leader of NWO. I want you guys to see.
Check this out, guys. This is pretty crazy stuff. I don't know if you're going to believe this, but it looks like Putin may have actually been friends with Henry Kissinger. And Henry Kissinger was the United States Secretary of State, and he was a national security advisor. He's a big establishment man. So looking at this report here, we see that Putin and Kissinger were described as old friends for decades. He was a frequent guest in Russia. And that Putin himself described Kissinger as a trusted advisor. And these connections go back before the year 2000. So we're talking about going back decades into the past. So Putin and the United States establishment Kissinger, what's going on here with Putin, guys? Is he like a new world order type of guy? What's the deal?
So I don't have, there's obviously not a whole lot to back this, so I don't have how much truth it is, but just given the idea, what if Putin was the leader of the NWO?
Come on, man. No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
That's
what that was a good one.
That's what I have to say.
That was a good one. Oh shit.
We love you. You're very special.
I try.
So yeah, but for real though, that would just mean that everything is basically planned, like it's all orchestrated. If that was true.
I mean, I did see a thing a while back, and of course, it's probably a spoof or whatever, but it was a couple pictures of some Russian dude from, it was like 1890, 1920-ish, 1940, 1950-ish, and the 1990s, and then Putin now, and they all looked pretty similar. I was like, yeah, he's been living for a long time.
He's been around for 200 years.
And looks the same.
Yeah. Yeah, he doesn't age. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. He's a lizard man. But yeah, so to me, I mean, Putin was the leader of the NWO. Because right now, I mean, I feel like the war is between the NWO and Putin, which NWO, New World Order, that's basically NATO, that's globalization, United States being the global empire, the Illuminati, which Zelensky, believe it or not, there's actually a lot of somewhat evidence that he has ties to Illuminati, because if you go in his background, he's like a big like celebrity movie star, like musician / like comedian. So if you want to go down that rabbit hole.
I like turtles.
There you go. Let's move it on to the next video. Did you happen to see this? Capsulate the global military spending from 1880 to 2020.
Yes, I
check this
it a couple
out.
times. It's an interesting video.
I love it. Let's check it out.
Inside her new Balenciaga, no mask, turn dreams
United States, United Kingdom, and then Soviet Union. China creeped out of nowhere in the 50s. So China has always been a third wheel during the Cold War. People's Republic. Then China dropped off in the 1980s, 86, it dropped off. And then Soviet Union dropped off in 1991, became Russia. And then they dropped off. It was Japan, France. And it was peaceful times in the 1990s. 2000. This is when I would say the New World Order was in control. And then China and Russia start creeping up. Saudi Arabia came on in second, or as a third wheel for a moment there. That was interesting. Wow. It got really weird there towards the end. Because it went from, oh my gosh.
That first part one is even better.
Which one?
Because that's part 2. If you watch them together, it's really cool. Because for the longest time, the United Kingdom is way up there. And you got France and Spain through the 1800s or through the 16s and stuff. And then then you see all these other countries just develop and pop up. But yeah, this is a really cool video.
Yeah, I was just here in it was Saudi Arabia went way up in 2015, 2016. It was the third wheel. And then Russia and Saudi Arabia were fighting. And then India went up there for a little bit, 2019. Why did India go up to number 3 spot in 2019?
I think you see when you see countries jump up a year or two and then drop back down, that's because they're probably re-outfitting their military with more standard equipment as new equipment, new items, new technologies come out.
Yeah.
So they spend a little bit more.
Yeah, that's probably it. It's pretty good shit. Kevin O'Leary.
Putin will not be around very long. It's really hard to understand the upside endgame for Putin, which is why many people, including me, speculate he's ill. Putin will not be around very long.
I hope he's right. Maybe. You guys hear about the Anonymous? What has Anonymous done to Russia? Here are the results. Check it out.
weeks ago, Anonymous declared that they're officially in cyber war against the Russian government. Since then, Anonymous has claimed responsibility for disabling prominent Russian government, news and corporate websites, and leaking data from entities such as Roskomnadzor, the federal agency responsible for censoring Russian media. Many SIS files were raised, hundreds of folders were renamed to Putin Stop This War, and email addresses and administrative credentials were exposed. Another hacked database contained more than 270,000 names and email addresses. Other databases contained security information, internal passwords, and a very large number of secret keys, which unlock encrypted data. Anonymous has also claimed to have hacked into Russian state TV stations. Anonymous has also claimed to have disrupted websites of major Russian organizations and media agencies, such as the energy company Gazprom and state-sponsored news agency Russia Today.
Interesting. Wow, they did quite a bit.
The results. More.
Yeah, that pretty much is all the content I have for today. Yeah, somebody mentioned, what do you guys think in the chat? We actually have some chatters here, chatterbotters. That man legit. India, why? They seem low key. Yeah, until 2019. They started spending some money. Maybe they knew something was going to happen.
And they are right next door to China.
Yeah. Oh, military budget. Let's see if we get 2022. Global. What? Am I reading this right? Military spending by country of 2022. We got United States, 778 billion, China, 252 billion. Look at this, India, number 3 spot. Yeah, India is ready for war. And I think India, did you guys see that video I sent you guys about the Russians making a deal, giving cheap discounted oil to India, and India said yes? And it's because Indians can never turn down a discount.
What did they get in return?
I don't know. Probably their army. I hope not, because that would really suck. Because, wait, isn't India part of NATO?
Yeah.
Or are they not?
Probably not aggression.
We want India on. India's been on the United States side, but I don't know if they're actually part of NATO. They are?
Pretty sure.
India, in September 2011, the NATO alliance invited India to be partner in a ballistic missile defense. According to reports, top NATO officials stayed to address Indian. What countries?
Right there. Member states of NATO.
What?
Down one. Or down some. It's a Wikipedia page. Go down. Right there.
Member states of NATO. India's not on here. That's not good, bro. Yeah, so Russia's going to be trying to get India to join. That's not good. Maybe. We'll see. India does not like China, though. No. These two are not friends. So I don't see how that... I would feel like the Indians would side with the United States. And it'd be China and Russia. These two would be... All of these would be then siding with the United States. Maybe Germany, I don't know. Germany might be neutral. Nobody wants Germany on there. Nobody wants Germany on their team. Yeah, I don't think Germany wants to be in another world war. No. I don't think nobody else wants them in there either. So yeah, you got the United States, India, United Kingdom, Saudi Arabia, France, Japan, South Korea against China and Russia. But if Russia and China could convince India, which is not a member of NATO, to join, then we got a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I think them being a part of not being a part of NATO is where that could become an issue.
Yeah, because what about Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia is not a member of NATO either.
No.
They're part of
OPEC. So we gotta have strong alliances with India and Saudi Arabia. We are United Kingdom's a shoe-in. Germany, yeah, I mean, I don't know. But definitely France, Japan, and South Korea. We want those guys on our side.
Germany oil, then I guess that's who they'll side with if they don't stay neutral.
We could give Germany oil.
One's just saying whoever gives Germany oil, they'll either side with them or
stay
neutral.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely puts Germany in a pickle. I think it concerns me that we only have an estimate of how much Saudi Arabia spends.
The same with China too.
And technically, Saudi Arabia technically is the one that attacked us in 9/11. All the hijackers were from Saudi Arabia. That's a fact. But we also are allies with Saudi Arabia, which makes it weird.
It's all weird.
Yeah. Makes you wonder, was it an inside job? False flag? Yeah. China, not friends with India. China, friends with Russia. Saudi Arabia. I don't know what Saudi Arabia is. I know they're allies with the United States, but what are their relationship with Russia and China? You guys know?
Not sure on that one.
What's Saudi Arabia relationship with China? It said that oil is the backbone of the relationship, while Saudi Arabia has long relied on China for arms sales, including weapons. The former could not acquire from anywhere. China and Saudi Arabia are close and strategic allies, with the relationship getting significantly warmer between the two.
Yeah, but I think Saudi Arabia is pretty friendly with everybody because of how much oil they have.
Yeah, but they don't need anybody.
That's what I'm saying. They don't need anybody, but they're friendly with everybody because it's like, yeah, we have oil, but if nobody's buying our oil, then...
Yeah.
So
yeah, they kind of rely on everybody.
So they're kind of like that businessman down the street. Like, you don't know him by name, you don't go to his house, and you're not, like, stupid friends with him, but you
But in a world... But if a world war break out, which side are they going to choose? They're going to choose China Or are they going to choose the United States?
I think more or less they'd probably be the same as Germany, but just on the opposite foot. They're going to defend their area to their profit, their livelihoods, and not risk anything.
So you think they would stay out of it?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think they'd stay out of it. I think they'd play both sides. So they'd sell oil to both sides to further the war, and then charge higher rates because it's like, well, you know, our shit's in danger, so you got to charge twice as much.
Yeah. So what is Saudi Arabia's relationship with Russia?
Probably not as friendly.
Russia and Saudi Arabia have taken similar approaches to North Africa, strongly supporting the military role of Adal, blah, 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 and Egypt following the 20, blah, blah, blah. Similar to both Russia and Saudi Arabia have supported Khalifa Haftar in the Levant National Army Second. It doesn't really tell me. Which countries? American jealous. That's probably Russian propaganda there. Saudi-Russian collusion is driving up gas prices. So yeah, it looks like Saudi Arabia. Yeah, Saudi Arabia is on both sides. Okay. So, yeah, they would be in the Saudi Arabia and Germany would probably be in the middle. United States. It really comes down to India, man. India relationship with China. 2008, China became India's largest trading partner, and the two countries have also extended their strategic and military relations. Since 2013, border disputes have reemerged to take center stage in two countries' mutual relations. What?
Yeah, I'll be right back, y'all.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back.
All right.
Sorry about that.
So, according to Google, Russia and India both term in relationship as special and privileged strategic partnerships. So, what if India sides with China and Russia? Yeah, we need like India to join NATO. Or Saudi Arabia. I'd say Saudi Arabia, India join NATO, then we'd be good.
I'm back.
I won't be able to be on for much longer. I gotta also get up and stream tomorrow too. Which, James, you coming tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
10:45.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, then. I'm gonna call it. I'm gonna wrap it up. Call it a night.
Sounds good.
Thank you guys. Awesome for being here. Thank you guys. Thank you all in the chat for being here.
Make sure you like the video, comment,
Yes.
subscribe.
Yes, we're at 35 subscribers. Let's get to 100. Subscribe.
If you have any topic ideas, drop them in the comment section.
Please. All right, guys. Peace out. See you later.
Thanks for coming.
Adios.